अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नामश्रेष्ठं मनुमपि च पुत्रमत्रस्वरूपं तस्याग्र रूपरिं मातुलिं गोष्ठवाटिं निराधाकुण्डं गिरिवरमहोराधिका माधवाशां प्राप्तो यस्य प्रथितकृपया श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि। नमस्ते गुरुदेवाय सर्वसिद्धिप्रदायिने सर्वमङ्गलरूपाय सर्वानन्दविदायिने यं प्राव्रजन्तमनपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विदः कातराजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मणिमानतोऽस्मि। हे श्रीगुरो ज्ञानदीनबन्धो स्वानन्ददातः करुणैकसिन्धो वृन्दावनासीनहितावतार प्रसीद राधा प्रणयप्रचार त्रायस्वो जगन्नाथ गुरो संसारवन्निना तक्तं मां कारदष्टं च त्वामहं शरणं गता। First of all, offer my millions of obeisances to lotus feet of Asmati Guru Pad Padma, Nitila Prishta, Jagat Guru Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and also offer obeisances to lotus feet of Tridendi Sannyasi, Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Dandi Maharaj, Naam Nishta Santa Shri Aniruddhas Prabhuji. All the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavas are gathered here for Bhagavad Gita class. Please accept my humble obeisances. So we are discussing Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2 and verse number 8. Actually, I was listening to some lectures on one channel, Jet World, JETWR. The Jet World is a channel where Chinna Jir Swami is one Jir in Ramana Sampradaya. He speaks actually here. And he is actually giving a nice explanation of Bhagavad Gita, although he's speaking in Telugu, which is his mother tongue, but also there is translation. So translation is also there. So you can read the translation as you hear him. It's a very good experience because I get to learn Telugu and also, so he's giving good explanation. So we'll read the verse. Nahi prapashyami mamanudyat yashokamushoshanamendriyanam avapya bhumava asapatnamruddham rajyam suranam apichadipatyam. Api means even. Avapya, after attaining. And asapatnam, unrivaled. Ruddham, prosperous. Rajyam, kingdom. Bhumau, on the earth. Cha, also. Adipatyam, sovereignty. Suranam, over the devas. He certainly, na prapashyami, I do not see how. Apanudyat, it can drive away. Mamam, my. Shokam, lamentation. Yat, which. Pushoshanam is drying up. Indriyanam, my senses. Even if we attain an unrivaled and prosperous kingdom on earth, with sovereignty over the devas, I do not see any way to dispel this lamentation, which is drying up my senses. Shri Krishna may say, you do not have a reverential attitude towards me. Rather, you have a friendly mood. How will I accept you as my disciple? You should take shelter of personalities such as Dvaipa and Vyas, for whom you have a reverential attitude. In anticipation of this, Arjuna is speaking the present shloka, beginning with the words Nahi. In the three worlds, I do not find anyone other than you who can dispel my lamentation. I do not consider even Brihaspati to be more intelligent than you. Therefore, being overwhelmed with grief, though shelter, whose shelter other than yours can I take? Just as the intense heat of the summer season dries up small ponds, similarly this grief is drying up my senses. Krishna may also say, despite being overwhelmed with grief, you should fight. When you win the battle, you will become absorbed in enjoying the pleasure of your kingdom and be freed from this grief. Arjun therefore replies with the expression beginning with Avapya. Even if I attain the unrivaled kingdom of the earthly or sovereignty over devatas in Swarga, my senses will remain as dry as they are now. So this is actually Srila Gurudev's version of Bhagavad Gita. Uh, Arjuna is unwilling to fight. So generally you have to do your duty, because if you don't do our duty, we must do our duty. For example, there's a doctor and he's doing an operation. He's doing operation on his wife. The Chinnajit Swami was telling. He's doing operation on his wife or his daughter, son, mother. He will have to do incision. He will have to make a cut with a surgical knife. He cannot say, "Oh, this is my mother. How can I cut her?" No. If an operation means cutting. So he give another example. Chinnajit Swami was giving that he was telling that suppose some person is told to hang someone, hangman means there are some persons who are in the prison. There are some hangmen, though hang the people, to hang the criminals. They get paid for that, and they cannot show compassion. If they have the order from the court and the police department, then they will have to hang the prisoners. So like that. So the whole point is that duty comes the top. We have to do our duty. If we don't do our duty, then we are no good. So here, now we'll read the Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, his version actually, Bhagavad Gita as it is, which was actually very famous in the Western world. Now in India also very famous. It is a very simple version and very much nice. Nahi prapashyami mamanupadhyadya shokamushoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumavasapatnam mritam rajyam sudanam apichadipatyam nahi prapashyami mamanupashyat yashokamushoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumava asapatna ruddham rajyam suranam apichadipatyam. Na means do not. He means certainly. Prapashyami, I see. Mama, my. Apanudyat can drive away. Yat, by that which. Shokam, lamentation. Ushoshanam, drying up. Indriyanam, of the senses. Avapya, achieving. Bhumao, on the earth. Asapatnam, without rival. Ruddham, prosperous. Rajyam, kingdom. Suranam, of the demigods. Api, even. Cha, also. Adhipatyam, supremacy. I can find no means to drive away the grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Although Arjuna was putting forward many arguments based on knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master, Lord Sri Krishna. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence. It was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Krishna. Academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc. are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can be given only by a spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problem of life. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. Kiva vipra kiva nyasi shudra kenenai Jai Krishna Tattvavetta say Guru hai. It does not matter whether a person is a vipra, learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is master in the science of Krishna, he is the perfect bona fide spiritual master. Chaitanya Charitamrita Bhakti Lila 8.128. So without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is also said in Vedic literature, Satkarmani puno vipro mantra tantra visharada Avaishnavo guru nasyad Vaishnava swapacho guru. A scholarly Brahman, expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge, is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava or expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But a person born in a family of a lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava or Krishna conscious. This is from Padma Puran. The problem of material existence, birth, old age, disease, and death, cannot be contracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. In many parts of the world, there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed. Yet the problems of material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways, but they can achieve a real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which constitute the science of Krishna through the bona fide representative of Krishna, the man in Krishna consciousness. If economic development and material comforts could drive away one's lamentation for a family, social, national, or international inebrities, then Arjun would have said that even an unrivaled kingdom on earth or supremacy like that of the demigods in the heavenly planets would be unable to drive away the lamentation. So Arjun would not have said that even an unrivaled kingdom on earth or supremacy like that of the demigods in the heavenly planets would be unable to drive away his lamentation. He sought, therefore, refuge in Krishna consciousness. That is the right path for peace and harmony. Economic development or supremacy over the world can be finished at any moment by the cataclysms of material nature. Even elevation into a higher planetary situation, as men are now seeking on the moon planet, can also be finished at one stroke. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this. Kshine punne martalokam vishanti. When the results of pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness to the lower status of life. Many politicians of the world have fallen down in that way. Such downfalls only constitute more causes for lamentation. Therefore, if you want to curb lamentation for good, then we have to take shelter of Krishna as Arjuna is seeking to do. So Arjuna asked Krishna to solve the problem definitely, and that is the way of Krishna consciousness. So basically, Srila Gurudev, once he was giving class in Tobacco. Tobacco is in New Jersey in America. I visited that temple long time ago. And there, Sripad Dhanurdhar Maharaj was there, ISKCON Sannyasi, and he was reading Bhagavad Gita and Gurudev was giving some explanation. And Gurudev told actually that we don't have to go to these atheistic universities. They cannot give us any divine knowledge. It's only we have to approach Haridas Thakur and a spiritual master like Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami. We'll get transcendental knowledge only from them. There is no other way of getting the knowledge. So here, shloka number 9, Sanjay Vacha, Eva Muktva Rishikesham Gudakesham Param Tapa, Ayot Siti Govindam Uktva Tushnyam Babhuva. Here Sanjay said, Evam thus Uktva, having spoken, Rishikesham, the Krishna, Gudakeshaha, Arjuna, Param Tapaha, slayer of the enemies, Uktva, saying Govindam unto Govinda, Na Yotse, I shall not fight. Iti thus, Babhuva, he became Tushnim, silent. Sanjay said, after speaking these words, Gudakesh, the chastiser of enemies, said to Sri Krishna, Oh Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. So these actually, in this verse, the two names of Krishna are coming, Govinda and Rishikesh. Eva Muktva Rishikesham Gudakesham Param Tapa Ayot Seti Govindam Uktva Tushnim Babhuva. Amazing verse, because two names of Krishna are coming. Even if you repeat this holy name, it's like chanting the holy name. Amazing verse. So, एवं मुक्त्वा ऋषिकेशं गुडाकेश परं तप नयोत्सिति गोविन्दम् उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूव. After speaking these words, Gudakesh, the chastiser of enemies, said to Sri Krishna, "O Govinda, I shall not fight," and fell silent. So here we will read Bhaktivedanta Sai Maharaj explanation also. एवं मुक्त्वा ऋषिकेशं गुडाकेशा परं तप नयोत्सिति गोविन्दम् उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूव. Sanjay Vacha, Sanjay said, Evam, thus, Uktva, speaking, Rishikesha, and to Krishna, the master of the senses. Krishna is master of senses. Gudakesha, Arjuna, the master of curbing ignorance. Gudak means ignorance. Param Tapaha, the chastiser of the enemies. Na Yotse, I shall not fight. Iti, thus, Govindam, unto Krishna, the giver of pleasure to the senses. Uktva, saying, Tushnim, silent, Babua, became, certainly. Sanjay said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Dhritarashtra must have been very glad to understand that Arjuna was not going to fight and was instead leaving the battlefield for the begging profession. But Sanjay disappointed him again in relating that Arjuna was competent to kill his enemies. Param Tapa. Although Arjuna was for the time being overwhelmed with false grief due to family affection, he surrendered to Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, as a disciple. This indicated that he would soon be free from the false lamentation resulting from family affection and would be enlightened with perfect knowledge of self-realization, of Krishna consciousness, and would then surely fight. Thus, Dhritarashtra's joy would be frustrated since Arjuna would be enlightened by Krishna and would fight to the end. So amazing explanation. So Arjuna is certainly going to fight. Sanjay knows this. Dhritarashtra may be happy that Arjuna is not going to fight, but that is not happen. Arjuna will certainly fight. Krishna will explain to him why it is important to fight. So next verse, Sloka 10. तमुवाच ऋषिकेशा प्रहसनिव भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये विशिदन्तम् इदं वचाम. O Bharat, O descendant of Bharat, Rishikesha, Sri Krishna, na, as if, prahasan, smiling, madhe, in the midst, ubhayo, of both, senayoho, of the armies, Vacha spoke, idam, these words, these vachaha words, tam vishidantam, unto the grieving one. O descendant of Bharat, Dhritarashtra, at that time Rishikesh, Shri Krishna, smiling in the midst of both armies, spoke the following words to the grieving Arjuna. To ridicule his friend Arjuna, who is in Sakhya Bhav, Krishna shows him that it is improper to be aggrieved in this way, thus drowning him in an ocean of embarrassment. Shri Krishna remarks, "Oh, you are devoid of discrimination." Arjuna accepted the position of Krishna's disciple, Shishya. However, it is improper to immerse a disciple in an ocean of shame in this way. Therefore, Krishna is pursing his lips and trying to hide his smile. Here, the import of the word Rishikesh is that although Krishna was previously controlled by the loving sentiments of Arjuna, now for Arjuna's own welfare, Krishna is controlling his mind out of love. Senayor Uvayor Madhye indicates that Arjuna's grief and the instructions and assurance given by Shri Bhagavan were equally visible to both armies. In other words, this message of Bhagavad Gita was manifested before all present. It was not kept secret from anyone. So basically, Bhagavad Gita was spoken and all the members of the army listened to that Bhagavad Gita. How fortunate they were actually. Drinking that nectar from the lips of Krishna Really, all the soldiers were very fortunate on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. They saw Krishna for 18 continuous days, so many days. As long as they were alive, they were seeing Krishna. So, Bhagavad as it is, Tamuvacha Rishikesha Prasaniva Bharata Senayor Madhe Vishidantam Idam Vacha. Tam unto him, Uvacha said Rishikesha, the master of senses, Krishna. Prahasan, smiling, Eva, like that. Bharata, O Dhritarashtra, descendant of Bharat. Senayoho, of the armies. Uvayo, of both parties. Madhya, between. Vishidantam, unto the lamenting one. Idam, following, Vacha, words. O descendant of Bharat, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. The talk was going on between intimate friends, namely the Rishikesh and the Gudakesh. As friends, both of them were on the same level, but one of them voluntarily became a student of the other. Krishna was smiling because a friend had chosen to become a disciple. As Lord of all, he is always in the superior position as a master of everyone. And if the Lord agrees to become a friend, a son, or a lover for a devotee, who wants him in such a role? But when he was accepted as the master, he at once assumed the role and talked with the disciple like the master, with gravity as it is required. It appears that the talk between the master and the disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad Gita are not for any particular person, society or community, but they are for all. And friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them. Understand? So Bhagavad Gita is for all, no doubt about it. So, तमुवाच ऋषिकेश प्रहसनिव भारत सेनयोरुभयोर मध्ये विषिदंतम idam vacha. That's a very nice verse. Then we're coming to the verse number 11. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Ashochanandashocastam Prajnavadam Shabhashase Gata Suna Gata Sumshananu Shochanti Pandita. Shri Bhagwan Vacha, Shri Bhagwan said, Bhashase, you are speaking Prajnavadan, learned words. Cha, but, Tvam, you, Anvashochaha are lamenting, Ashochan, for what is not worthy of grief. Cha, yet Panditaha, the wise, na Anushochanti, not lament, Gata, lost, Asuna, life, or Agata, not lost, Asuna, life. Shri Bhagavan said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise do not lament either for the living or the dead. Shri Krishna says, oh Arjuna, your grief, which is born from the pain of killing your relatives, is illusory. Your question, how shall I fight with Bhishma, shows that your reasoning is based on ignorance. To explain why the above statement is true, Shri Bhagavan says, Ashochan Anvashocha. You are grieving for that which is not worthy of grief. Shri Krishna further says, even after being reassured by me, you are speaking statements such as Katham Bhishwam Aham Sankhe, thereby presenting yourself as a Pandita. In other words, although you have knowledge, you are arguing. This proves that actually you do not have knowledge. Because the wise do not lament for gross bodies from which life, air, prana has gone, gata asun. As such, gross bodies are temporary. Agata asuna means from whom the prana has not gone. The learned or wise do not lament even for the subtle bodies of such persons, because the subtle body is indestructible before the stage of mukti, liberation. In both conditions, gata asuna, without life and agatasuna, with life, both the svabhava, nature of the gross and subtle bodies is unchangeable. Foolish people lament, however, for the gross body of their father or relatives when the prana leaves it. They do not lament for the subtle body because generally they do not have knowledge about it. Bhishma and others are also Atma with coverings of gross and subtle bodies. Since the Atma is eternal, to lament for it is improper. Thus earlier you were saying that Dharma Shastra is superior to Artha Shastra, but my response is that Jnana Shastra, from where this understanding comes, is superior even to Dharma Shastra. Sarartha Varshani Prakashika. That portion of Sachidananda Paratattva, the supreme absolute reality composed of eternality, consciousness and bliss, which is endowed only with the Tatastha Shakti, is called Jivatma or the Jiva. The Jivas are atomic particles of consciousness by constitutional nature. Their eternal and natural characteristic is Bhagavad Seva. Jivas are of two types, Mukta and Baddha. The Mukta Jivas are eternally engaged in the service of Sri Bhagavan in his abode. They never fall down. The Baddha Jivas have forgotten the service of Sri Bhagavan since time immemorial, and thus being covered by the two types of material bodies, gross and subtle, are suffering three types of miseries as punishment in this material world. The gross body of the Baddha Jiva is made of the five material elements: earth, water, fire, air, and sky, and is temporary and perishable. After death, the Jiva changes his gross body. Where there is birth, death will always follow. Today or tomorrow, or after some time, death is certain. Mrutyurjanmavatam vira dehena sajayate adyavabdishatan deva mrutyurve praninam dhruva. Srimad Bhagavatam 10 Canto, first chapter 30th verse. In Gita 2.27 it is said, Jatasya dhruva mrityu, for one who has taken birth, death is a certainty. The Jiva's immediate designation, which is made of mind, intelligence and false ego, and which covers his pure nature, is called Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body. One is granted a new gross body in each birth, and at the time of death it is destroyed. But such is not the case with the subtle body. Due to the Jiva's forgetfulness of Sri Krishna's Swarupa, the subtle body has been covering his Swarupa since time immemorial. The subtle body cannot be dissolved even after remembering Bhagavan through such processes as Jnana, Yoga, Tapasya, Dhyana and study of the Vedas. It can only be dissolved by remembering him through the medium of Bhagavad Bhakti. At that time, the Jiva becomes situated in his pure nature, Shuddha Swarupa. Pritirna Yavan Mai Vasudevi. So basically, the subtle body very difficult to dissolve, but we are told that by Nama Sankirtan, even Namabhas can destroy all the karmas. Tava Salpa Spurti Paya Ugra Tapa Dure Jaya Linga Vangana Se. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung this. Jaya Jaya Hari Nama Chidanandamruta Dhamam Paratattva Ksharakara Nija Jane Kripa Kari Nama Rupe Avatari Jive Daya Kari Le Apar. All glories to the holy name, the storehouse of the nectar of divine knowledge and bliss, who is none other than the supreme truth, Bhagavan Shri Krishna. To shower mercy on his devotees, he has descended in the form of sound, showing vast compassion for all jivas. Jaya Hari Krishna Nama Jagajana Sovishrama Sarva Jana Mana Saranjana Muni Vrinda Nirantara Jena Mera Samadara Tari Gaya Bhari Yavadana. All glories to the many names of Hari and Krishna. Shri Nam is the sublime nature for all living entities, taking them out from the cycle of birth and death and filling their hearts with delight. The Munis sing the holy names incessantly with great honor and joy. O He Krishna Namakshara, Tumi Sarva Shakti Dhara, Jivera Kalyana Vitarane. Toma Vina Bhava Sindhu, Dari Terai Bandhu, Asiyache Jiva Uddharane. O syllables of Krishna Nam, you possess all powers in order to bestow auspiciousness upon the jivas. Coming for our deliverance. You are the sole friend to rescue us from the ocean of birth and death. आछे ताप जीवे जाता तुमी सर्व करत हिलाए तुम्हारे एक बार ताके जदि को न जाना है दिन किंचन नहीं देखी अन्य प्रतिकार. Whatever miseries are afflicting the jivas, you fully dispel if one even neglectfully chants your name just once, feeling himself insignificant and destitute and seeing no other remedy for his relief. Tava swalpa spurti paya ugrata padure jaya linga bhanga haya anayase bhakati vinoda kaya jaya hari namo jaya. A momentary vision of you makes all sorts of terrible miseries disappear. The subtle body is also destroyed and you establish the jiva in his swarupa. Bhaktivinoda says, O Harinam, all glories to you perpetually. I have fallen at lotus feet. Amazing. So, Tava Salpa Spurti Paya Ukratapa Dure Jai. Linga Bhanga Ayana Hana Anase. See, when the subtle body is dissolved, vanishes if you get even chant Namabhas. This is the power of the holy name, Bhagavad Bhakti, superior than other processes. So here, Pritirna Yavan Mai Vasudevi, Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.6. Sa Lingena Vimuchyate, Srimad Bhagavatam 4.29.83. Bhayam Dvitiya Viniveshitasya, Srimad Bhagavatam 11, Canto 2nd, chapter 37 verse. Yada Ratir Brahmani Naishtiki Puman, Srimad Bhagavatam 4.22.26. Mahamopitya to Kaunteya, Srimad Bhagavad Gita 8.16. When we study these shlokas, it is quite clear that although the subtle body has no beginning, it is acquired by forgetfulness of Krishna. It is acquired by forgetfulness of Bhagavan, Bhagavad Vismriti, and destroyed by remembrance of him, Bhagavad Smriti. Therefore, those who are Atma Tattvavid, who know the nature of the Atma to be immutable, imperishable, and eternal, do not lament or become disturbed at the loss of the gross body. They grieve neither for a gross body without an Atma Gatasun, nor for a gross body with an Atma Agatasun, which will be destroyed in the future. On the other hand, those who consider their gross body to be their self are ignorant. Such persons are not even aware of the subtle body, what to speak of the Atma. They consider the gross body containing the Atma to be their mother, father, brother, or relative. When the Atma leaves that body, they consider their mother, father, brother, or relative to be dead, and they lament for that body. So basically, we are not this body, we are a spirit soul. So Krishna is trying to tell us that, death is certain. Atyavapdeshatabdeva mrutyurvai praninam dhruvaha. Whether we want it or not, after one now or after 100 years, one will certainly have to die. We cannot be eternal. The body cannot be eternal, and the soul is always eternal. So this is what is the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So, Ashochananva Shochastam Pratyabadam Shabhasati Gatasuna Gatasunshya Nanu Shochanti Pandita. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Ashochan, not worthy of lamentation. Anva Shocha, you are lamenting. Tvam, you, Pradnya Vadan, learned talks. Cha also, Bhashas is speaking. Gata lost. Asuna life. Agata not past. Asuna life. Cha also, no never. Anushochanti lament. Pandita, the learned. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. The Lord at once took the position of the teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. The Lord said, you are talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who is learned, one who knows what is body and what is soul, does not lament for any stage of the body, neither in the living nor in the dead condition. As explained in later chapters, it will be clear that knowledge means to know matter and spirit, and the controller of both. Arjun argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology. But he did not know that knowledge of matter, soul, and the supreme is even more important than religious formalities, formularies. And because he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man. And he did not happen to be a very learned man. He was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and is destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as the soul. One who knows this is actually learned. And for him, there is no cause for lamentation, regardless of the condition of the material body. So here, Ashochanam Shochastam Pratnya Badam Shabhashase Gatasuna Gatasunshya Nanu Shochati Pandita. Bhagavan is giving very important instruction to Arjuna that those who are intelligent don't lament either for living or for the dead. Arjuna actually is internal associate of Krishna, but he's acting as if he's in dilemma, he's ignorant, like this. There's only some drama going on actually. Arjuna knows this knowledge, much higher knowledge he knows. He's eternal associate of Krishna. But for our benefit, he's actually acting like this. So this Chinnajiyar Swamiji's class I was listening, he was giving a very nice story that there were two engineers. They passed online exam on the internet, they studied engineering and then they graduated online education. Like Corona time, online education was going on. So then they were given an assignment by their boss. So there is a pillar standing in the playground. You find the height of this pillar. Very tall pillar was there, wooden pillar. So they didn't know because they were engineers, but they didn't know how to find the height of this pillar. So there was a very old lady there, and she was not very learned. She hadn't got even school. So these two engineers talked to her. Then she told them that what instruments you have brought. And they said that we have brought some this and that. And they said, okay, what you do is you dismantle this pillar. So maybe it was iron pillar or something. They used they somehow dismantled that pillar. Then she said, you have a tape. Then they had tape actually. And then they measured the length of it. Then she said, now you make this pillar again stand. So they screwed it again and the pillar was standing. Then she said, this is the height of the pillar. And she went away. Then they said, this was a strange lady. We wanted the height of the pillar, but she gave us the length of the pillar. What is this? So he was telling this is education today. So first they didn't know how to get the height. And when she gave them the height, they doubted if it was really height. They thought it was a length. So the Guru told us to get the vertical height of the pillar and she gave it the horizontal length. What is this going on? Anyways, this is the material world. Everyone thinks they're very learned, but they're all fools because they don't know the Atma Tattva. This was Maharaj was telling. So there is nothing to lament in this material world, because neither for the living nor for the dead we have to lament, because we are all the spirit soul. Actually, Arjuna went to Krishna. Here Swami was telling the story that Arjuna went to Krishna. Arjuna is younger, Duryodhana is elder. And Arjuna sat at the feet of Krishna. Duryodhana came first, but he sat at the head of Krishna. Krishna tried to make a peace, but there he could not make any peace. So war was imminent. War was certainly going to take place. So both parties came to Krishna for asking help. But Krishna woke up and he saw Arjuna first. So he told Arjuna that why you have come? He said, I have come to ask your help. There is going to be war. Then Duryodhana said, oh, Krishna, I'm here. Krishna said, I didn't see you. You are sitting near my head. So I couldn't see you. You are behind me. Okay, tell me, Duryodhana, why you have come? He said, we are asking for your help for the war, because we are going to fight Kauravas and Pandavas. So we need help from you. So Krishna said that, okay, on one side my Narayani Sena, my army, and 1,000 strong generals, they will all be having weapons and everything. They will fight on one side. And other side, I will not take any weapon. I will only give advice. I will not take any weapon in my hand, and I will only give advice. So you choose what you want. Then Duryodhan, but he said Arjuna is junior, Arjuna is younger, so I'll give him a chance first. Junior should be given chance first. So Duryodhan was very worried that Arjuna may choose 1,000 generals and big army, Narayani Sena. So, but Arjuna said, Krishna, I want you. I don't want this 1,000 generals and this Narayani army. I don't want it. Then Krishna said, again think you should, Arjuna. I will not fight. I will not take any weapon in the hand. I will only give advice. You are sure? Then he said, no problem, Krishna. You don't take any weapon. You don't have to fight. I will do everything. You simply be on my side and give me advice. Then Duryodhan was very happy. Smiling, he said, okay, if Arjuna has chosen Krishna without weapons, then I will choose the generals and the army and let the army be on my side. Smiling, he went to the Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev said, first time in my life I have seen Duryodhan happy, smiling. He never smiling, never happy. What happened? Why you are happy, Duryodhan? He asked. Oh, he told Krishna's vow, that Krishna has taken a vow that he will not take weapon in his hand and he will only give advice to Pandavas. So I chose the army of Krishna and I didn't choose Krishna. And I am very happy that I made a very good decision. What is the use of Krishna if he is only going to give advice? I have so many advisors like Bhishma, Dronacharya, Karna, Shakuni and all. What is the need of Krishna for advice? I don't need advisors. I need some good warriors. And Krishna is not going to fight. So I didn't choose Krishna. I think I made a good decision. Then Bhishma said, oh, if Krishna is not going to take any weapon in his hand, then I also take a vow that I will certainly make Krishna take weapon in the hand. So you see, the devotee has taken a vow that Krishna has to take a weapon in his hand. And Krishna has taken a vow, he will not take the weapon in the hand. But who was victorious? Bhishma was victorious. He somehow or the other, he made take a weapon. Krishna take weapon in the hand. So basically, we say that there is heaven and we say there is hell. The Chinnajaya Swami was telling, what is heaven and what is hell? When we are doing what we like, that is heaven. And when we are experiencing something which we don't like, that is hell. For example, some people is drinking liquor. Then he is with liquor bottle, then he thinks this is heaven. Understand? Because he is so absorbed in drinking liquor, he is in heaven actually. Understand? But that same liquor may be hell for someone else. Understand? So Sita also told Ram, once Sita asked Ram, what is heaven and what is hell? Then heaven is where great apsaras and rambhas and female dancers are there, and you get a lot of somaras and intoxicating beverage to drink in heaven. and in Narak you are beaten up. Uh, they put you in the boiling cauldron of boiling oil, and when you jump out, then again they put you back inside it with trident. Is that hell? Then Sita told Ramchandra that for me, wherever you are, O Ram, that is heaven. And wherever I am feeling separation from you, that is hell. Living with you, even in the forest, will be heaven for me. And living without you, even in the heaven, will be hell for me. This is the definition Mother Sita gave actually. So basically, Maharaj was giving an example that how the things are destroyed. Suppose I want to cut something, a piece of paper. If I had to cut a piece of paper, what I have to do? I take scissor and I have to cut it. The scissor has to enter the paper. Then when it enters the paper, paper is destroyed. Understand? Suppose you have to cut a fruit, then the knife has to enter the fruit, and the fruit is destroyed. When something else enters an object, the object is destroyed. But how about a coconut? So Maharaj was telling about coconut. How you take a coconut and if you just tap it with a hammer, it will not break. But if you hit it with the hammer, it will break. Suppose you take a coconut and you throw it on the ground very strongly, like they do in India, it will break. Nothing has entered the coconut. But how the coconut broke? Actually, the coconut broke because of the momentum, the impact on the ground. And actually, what broke the coconut was air, actually. The air inside broke it. Understand? The air inside caused it to burst, actually, because of the momentum with which it was dashed. So, if you simply tap a coconut, it will not break. But with the momentum you hit the coconut with a hammer, then the air inside is compressed and the coconut breaks. Understand? So, basically, something has to enter into us. But why the soul is indestructible? So Maharaj was telling that soul is so subtle, so small that nothing can enter into it. Nothing can enter into it. For example, you want to destroy like a coconut. Then you put a coconut on the fire. Slowly, the particles of fire will enter the coconut, and it will burn the coconut to ashes. The coconut is destroyed. Understand? So it means when the fire entered the coconut, it destroyed it. So understand. So coconut is made of earth element, mainly its prominence of earth and water. Coconut, if you see, it is made of earth and water and some air. But fire entered into it and destroyed it. Understand? Coconut burst and broke into pieces because of the air. Because air is more subtle than the fire. Air is more subtle than the earth and water. Understand? So when one element enter into other elements, the object made of that element is destroyed. But nothing can destroy the soul, because soul is so minute. The description will come in future that how minute is the soul. 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair. Nothing can enter it, so it is indestructible. Understand? So, anyways, I will forward the link to you. You can also see the lectures of Maharaj. He gives a 15-minute class every week or something. Jetworld.com. Jetworld on YouTube channel. Jetworld. So, Natvam evaham jatuna sam verse 12. Natvam neme janadhipa na chaivana bhavishyama sarve vayamata param. Tu eva, most certainly, na, never, jatu, at any time, aham, na asam. Did I not exist? Na, nor, tvam, you, na, nor, may, these, janadhipa, kings, cha, also, no, nor, ataha, param, hereafter, sarve vayam, all of us, eva, certainly, na bhavishyama, shall not exist. There was never a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any one of us ever cease to be. Krishna asked the question, "Oh friend Arjuna, when one grieves over the death of a dear person, one grieves over the death of a dear person, what is the object of his love? The body of the Atma." In Srimad Bhagavatam 10 Canto 14 chapter 50th verse it is said, Sarveshamapi bhutanam rupa sarva swatma vaiva vallabha. O king, for all jivas the Atma is certainly dearmost. According to this statement of Sri Shukdev Goswami, it is the Atma that is the only object of love. Although there is a difference between Ishvara and the Jiva, both types of Atma are eternal and free from death. Means Ishvara and Jiva both are eternal. Thus it is not the Atma that is the object of grief. For this reason only Shri Krishna is speaking this shloka, beginning with the Natvam Evaham. Natva Evaham. It is not true that I, Paramatma, did not exist in the past. Suddenly I was existing. In the same way, you, the Jiva, also existed in the past, as did the Jivas who are all these kings. The possibility of the soul not existing prior to its existence in its present body is refuted by this statement. Similarly, it is not true that you, these kings, and I will not continue to exist in the future. We will all continue to exist. Thus, it has been proven that the soul is indestructible. In this regard, the Katha Upanishad 2.2.13 states, Nityo nityanam chetana chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. He who is the supreme eternal amongst all eternal entities, the supreme conscious being among all conscious beings, is fulfilling the desires of all living entities. So, Nityo nityanam chetana chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. Bhagavan is fulfilling the desires of all living entities. The Jiva's contact, Sharada Varshini Prakashika Varti, the Jiva's contact with the gross body is called birth, and separation from it is called death. When the Jivatma is situated in the gross body, people have loving dealings with each other. But such ignorant persons who consider the gross body to be the Atma do not realize that the real self is not material, and thus when a Jiva disappears from a body, they become absorbed in grief. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj asked Srila Shukdev Goswami, "O Brahmana, Shri Krishna was not born to the same parents as the other cowherd boys. How was it possible for those parents to have such unparalleled prema for him that he did not even have for their own children?" In response to this, Srila Shukdev Goswami says, "O king, for all living entities, one's own self, Atma, is the most dear. All the entities who are separate from oneself, such as the sun, wealth, house, and other objects, are dear to the self. They are not as dear as the self itself. It is secondary to the affection one has towards one's own self. O king, the affection an embodied soul has for that for which he feels possessiveness, such as the sun, wealth, and house, is not the same as the affection he feels for his own self. In other words, there is a difference between I and mine. The amount of priti affection one has for objects which are possessed by him is not the same as the priti that one has for one's own self. Those who consider the body to be the self do not feel that which is related to the body, such as a house, a wife, or a son, is as dear to them as their own body. And even though a person's body is the object of his affection, it is not as dear to him as the self. Because when the body becomes old, the desire for survival still remains strong. This is due to the excessive attachment one has for the self. Bhagavan Shri Krishna is the very self of the self. He is the most dear object, Priyatam, for every Atma. The world which is related to Krishna is also dear, but not dearmost. Krishna is the object of the word I, because he is the Atma of all Atmas. And that which is related to Krishna, such as the universe, is the object of the word mine. That is why Krishna is so dear to the cowherd boys. The above statements are also verified by the dialogue between Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where it is said, Sovacha nava nava are patyo kamaya priyo bhavati atmanastu kama patihi priyo bhavati naha vare sarvasya kamaya sarvam priyam bhavatya atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. The great sage Yajnavalkya said to Maitreyi, no living entity loves another for the other's satisfaction. Only for one's own satisfaction does the husband love his wife. The wife loves her husband, the father loves his son, and the son loves his father. A person is dear not for someone else's satisfaction, but for the happiness and satisfaction of one's own self. So even in the material world, we are loving someone, we are loving for our own satisfaction, not for that person's satisfaction. Understand? So we love our soul. We love our mother, father, our possessions, but more than that, we love our body. And more than our body, we love our soul. And more than soul, we love the soul of all souls, Krishna. So ultimately, the topmost we should love should be Krishna because the soul of all the souls. Natvam evam jatuna sam natmam neme janadipana chaivam na bhavishyama sarve vayamata param. No, never, two, but eva certainly, aham, I, jatu at any time. No, did not, asam, exist. No, not, tvam, you. No, not, ime, all these Janadipa kings. No, never. Jo also, eva certainly. No, not. Bhavishyama shall exist. Sarve vayam, all of us. Ataha param, hereafter. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any one of us cease to be. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Shveta Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations according to individual work and reaction of one. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also, by his plenary portions, alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. Nityo nityanam chetanaschetananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman tamatmastham ye anupashyanti dhiras tesham shanti shashvati netaresham. Kathopanishad 2.2.13. The same absolute, the same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned but actually have but a poor fund of knowledge. The Lord says clearly that He Himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings. And the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their condition and in their liberated situations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme individual person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal gate, and all the individuals in the past. And it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. Their individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone. The Mayavadi theory that after liberation, the individual soul separated by the covering of Maya or illusion will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the supreme authority. Nor is the theory that we only think of individuality in the conditioned state supported herein. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as it is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. The statement of Krishna is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion. If individuality were not a fact, then Krishna would not have stressed so much even for the future. The Mayavadi may argue that the individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Even accepting the argument that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms his individuality in the past and confirms his individuality in the future also. He has confirmed his individuality in many ways, and impersonal Brahma has been declared to be subordinate to him. Krishna has maintained spiritual individuality all along. If he is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture. A common man with all the four defects of human frailty is unable to teach that which is worthy, that is worth hearing. The Gita is about such literature. No mundane book compares with the Bhagavad Gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, the Gita loses all importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional and that it refers to the body. But previous to this verse, such a bodily conception is already condemned. After condemning the bodily conception of the living entities, how was it possible for Krishna to place a conventional proposition on the body again? Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed by great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja and others. It is clearly mentioned in many places in the Gita that this spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees of the Lord. Those who are envious of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no bona fide access to the great literature. The non-devotee's approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. One cannot have a taste of honey unless one opens the bottle. Similarly, the mysticism of the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can test it, as it is stated in the 4th chapter of the book. Nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. Therefore, the Mayavadi explanation of the Gita is a most misleading presentation of the whole truth. Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentaries made by the Mayavadis and warns that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. If individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and the Lord is an eternal fact, and it is confirmed by the Vedas as mentioned, as above mentioned. So you can see that we all are part and parcel of Krishna, but we are also individuals. Eternal difference is also there. Eternal oneness and eternal difference simultaneously. We are energy of Krishna, and we are part and parcel of Krishna means we are energy of Krishna actually. We are Tatastha Shakti. So Krishna is Shaktiman, we are Shakti. So the next verse is text 13, very important verse. Dehino yasmine thadehe kaumaram yuvanam jara tatehantara praptir dhirastatranam muhyati. So we'll discuss this next time. So thank you for attending the class today. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarvasya kripa sindhu vajapatana pavanibhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. If anyone has any question, please let me know. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Prams. Thank you so much for that. I don't think there's any questions. So we'll stop here.
All right.
And thank you so much for taking off time and coming to give us your special mercy.
Yes.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
And Vanchakal Vyastya Kripa Sindhu Patitana
Hare Krishna.
Ananga Mohan Prabhu, Jai Diwani, please.
Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Vinoda Bihari Ji Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Parashtotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Vishnu Deti Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Parashtotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Dandi Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Parashtotara Shata Shri Srimad भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णु पारस्तुतरा शता श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णु पारस्तुतरा शता श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज की जय।
जय।
नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णु पारस्तुतरा शता श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णु पारस्तुतरा शता श्री श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट परम भगवत प्रभार श्री श्रील गौर किशोर दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय।